Um, We get your part on this, so I can also get it on our website here too. Okay,
For sure.
so by day, the activist pseudonymized as Dorian Gray is a data scientist and systems engineer with over 20 years of experience developing relational data systems and analytical models in the healthcare, financial, and utility sectors. Today, Dorian will be speaking about coldCounter, an open source data infrastructure project that aggregates, normalizes, and documents immigration detention data. Okay, Dorian, your turn. And I will mute.
Thanks, Alice. You make me blush. My cam isn't working, and I'm so sorry, guys. So bear with me, but I'm going to share screen real quick. So we're going to talk a little bit about coldCounter, which is a project that I've been working on. Let me get my screens right. I'll just put this over here, I guess. Oh, come on. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be the techie one too. Why are you stuck in full screen? Killing me, Smalls. Well, I guess we'll just share this one. Cool. Can y'all see my screen?
Hmm.
Wonderful. So this is coldCounter. coldCounter is a data marketplace, a data warehouse, where we are taking mostly data that has been collected by something called the Deportation Data Project out of UC Berkeley Law School. And we're aggregating that data here in a few different tables. And I'll show you kind of what that looks like navigating through this. And then I'm going to walk you guys through downloading coldCounter, and you'll be able to follow along at home. So we have a few raw tables here. This is the raw data coming from the deportation data project. So they sort their data into stints and stays. So if I right click on the raw detention stints right here and view data, it looks a lot like Excel. And so this is all of the detention stints that the deportation data project has collected through FOIA litigation. And these are updated fairly regularly. And the difference between a stint and a
Recording in
stay, I guess
progress.
we should start there. Oh, I think somebody is not on mute. Hello? Hello, test. Okay, cool. If you are analyzing by this the person being booked in and booked out a single visit at a concentration camp, then that is a stint. So for those individual facts, we're looking at the stints there. Now, if we look at the individual across all stints and view the stays, we could see that, for example, this individual had three stints. They were in these three facilities. So interestingly, they started in a hold room, and then they went to a detention facility, and then they ended at a different hold room. Um, and I guess I should probably start there, but I wanted you guys to just see the data beforehand before we get started of like what we're talking about. But this data we became aware of this data about a month ago at no concentration camps in Colorado, and we found that data through the Colorado Times Recorder. Um, Actually, just go ahead and pull up that article. So this is the article from Colorado Times Recorder that tipped us off. That there was these secret ICE detention facilities around Colorado. And we were very, it definitely sparked some interest here. And these facilities are listed as hold rooms. So if we look at and I'm going to throw this in the chat really quick so everybody has it. Just throw this over here so you guys don't see my Google Drive. And um, I'm a terrible teacher. I'm so sorry. I'm not good at this. But drive it. Where are we? Well, with that, stand by. Wish I had. There we go. coldCounter training. Boom. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna throw some links in the chat really quick, so that you guys can see from where you are. I'm just gonna test a message in this chat real quick because it is not pulled up. Show meeting chat. Um, and I'm gonna throw this doc in here. You should be able to just click on that and it'll take you right to our little overview that has some links on it. And we're going to start off with our data sources tab on there. And I will go ahead and bring that over to the screen. Might as well. Um, so we are getting primarily our data from the deportation data project. And so these guys are out of UC Berkeley Law School, and you can actually go to their website, deportationdata.org, and see the data that they currently have. Like, if we want to look at ICE arrest data, we could click into here, and they have a built-in browser that's kind of like how coldCounter works, except for we have different tables and there's a little bit more usability. And you can come in here and say, I want to see just all the ones that were in Texas. So you could come over and, oh, apprehension state, they have it. I want to see just the ones in Texas. And now I'm looking at all of the arrests that happened just in Texas. And they're downloadable as Excel files or as DTA files or parquets if you're using code. A little bit easier to work with. And we're actually downloading them as Excel files, and just merging them into coldCounter. So we take all of their data and we bring it into coldCounter, which is the database here, and we create dimension tables and fact tables off of them. It's called a star schema. It's a way of doing dimensional analytics. And so what a dimension is these are like singular things. So this thing is hold rooms. And so what it's doing is it's going and taking all of the detention stints and finding all of the ones that end in hold, which ended up being the black sites that were reported. Now, these facilities are defined in the ICE National Detention Standards as a temporary facility for 12 hours of use. And they have very specific rules for how they can be used. Um, I think I put, yep, National Detention Standards. So if you have the document that I threw in the chat, you can click on this National Detention Standards. It's going to bring you straight to the ICE website for National Detention Standards. And then if you go down to page 31 in here, that'll bring you to where they talk about hold rooms. 31. Cool. So hold rooms may be used for the temporary detention of individuals awaiting removal, transfer, executive office of immigration review, court hearings, medical treatment, intra-facility movement, or other processing into or out of the facility. That's what they're for. And they don't report these detention statistics publicly. Now, ICE reports all of their detention statistics, and I've got this in the training document here as well, ICE reporting. So this is going to take you to the detention management page of the ICE website where bi-monthly they update this. And this is an Excel document that gives a number of different population and demographic statistics per facility. And they don't report the hold rooms within there because they're not detention facilities. They're just a room. And these rooms are often in like offices and sometimes warehouses, sometimes airports, courthouses. Mostly, though, they're in privately owned office buildings. All of the ones in Colorado are. And the way we got there is so we built our hold room dimension here and defined some statistics that we wanted to calculate. So we got the detention facility code and name and state that it's in. And if we want to look at just, let's look at just Colorado. So hold room state is going to be Colorado. Boom. Filters that down to Colorado, and we can see the 9 different hold rooms that are in Colorado. Um, and we can see the total times used. So what this is doing is counting the unique stint IDs for that hold room. And the total times it was used before 2025 and then since 2025. And with this, what we're seeing is not only an increase across the board in hold room usage since the start of 2025, since Trump's second term in office, although these have been here for a while. The city of Alamosa, our first test case for direct action against them, the city attorney agreed that they have been unlawfully occupying the building since 2005 and are not permitted in any way for detention. We'll get to there. But so total times used before 2025 and since 2025, that's just kind of for reference. We're not only seeing across the board increase, but we're also seeing like a lot more hold rooms being used. For example, this one before 2025, um, the Colorado Springs Denver HSI hold. So it's the Denver Area of Responsibility for Homeland Security Investigations hold room. Um, was never used before 2025, but since 2025, it's been used 130 times. Uh, from there, we've got total unique people. I'm using a unique identifier field that's provided by the Deportation Data Project. We're gonna build a new dimension off of people that'll just have specific stories of individuals soon. I could use some help with that, to be honest with you, if anybody's savvy with SQL. But we like if you go to the detention stays in here, there is a unique identifier. Um, and it's somewhere in here. So the unique identifier field, though, is kind of like a medical record number. It tracks the individual across different stints. And yeah, so it's just different ways of looking at the same data, but total unique people versus total times used. We could see that one person at this facility was at the same hold room twice. Um, number of children and elderly over 70. This is relevant because if we go back to the National Detention Standards document, um, there are a few pieces in here that are important. Number one on page 32, unaccompanied minors under 18 years, people over the age of 70 years, females with children and family groups will not be placed in hold rooms unless they have shown or threatened violent behavior, have criminal convictions involving violence, or have given staff articulatable grounds to expect an escape attempt. Um, so that's why we're finding out the elderly people here. Now there was two over 70 people that were in the Colorado Springs HSI hold room, and there were two over 70 people at the Denver hold room. And so that gives us an indication of something that we can like look further on. Maybe we can find out if one of these four individuals, it's not a whole lot of people to track down, is a nonviolent offender, hasn't threatened any violence, et cetera, and then also hasn't been signed up for legal services. And you can get them connected with somebody like CERC or the ACLU who will sue the pants off of ICE for not violating the national detention standards. It's an excellent point of direct action there and direct aid. Same here with violations over 12 hours before waiver. So if we go back to those national detention standards, they are permitted for a detainee may not be held in a hold room for more than 12 hours. There is a waiver that was sent out by ICE administration, and it, on June 22nd, 20 or June 24th, 2025, that extended that time to 72 hours. So violations over 12 hours before waiver. So if their book out time was prior to that date, then we calculate it by the hours there. Otherwise, we calculate it by 3 days, violations over 72 hours. So we can see here that they kept the people in a hold room for more than 72 hours 14 times at this facility, one time at this facility. Um, and then violations over 72 hours post waiver. So this is how many times they violated the 3 day rule since they extended the time on hold rooms from 12 hours to 3 days. So at this facility, 10 times. Average hours imprisoned, imprisoned over 7 days, imprisoned over 30 days. So we have one person in Colorado at Den Hold, and we know who it is, who is imprisoned in that hold room for 35 days. And we're hoping to get a statement soon, but it's a horrible thing. So 35 days in a hold room, what does that look like? If we go back to the national detention standards, I'll let you guess what rules they're following. There are physical conditions of a hold room. A single occupant shall contain a minimum of 37 square feet. So that's 7 feet by 7 feet. That is the minimum occupancy. And they have to provide 25 square feet for wheelchair turnaround, so another 5 square feet, and then another 5 square feet or another 2.5 by 2.5 feet per person. They're provided a single toilet slash lavatory fixture. We looked up some of the penal toilet slash lavatories. Basically, that's your drinking water and your washing station and your toilet, and only one in the there's only one required in the area. All hold rooms shall be equipped to provide hand washing and potable water. Hold rooms with toilets shall allow for an adequate amount of privacy. So there's typically only one for the whole thing. Um, this is an important part to note. Bunks, cots, beds, and other sleeping apparatus are not permitted inside hold rooms. Exceptions will be made for detainees who are ill, minors, and pregnant women. But they're not allowed to put a bed in there. Um, and bold hold rooms will contain sufficient seating for the maximum occupancy, room occupancy. So that wording is important because it allows them to kind of pack people in there because they only need room to sit. Um, they're supposed to provide 5 feet by 5 feet, but we'll look at some of the average population data in a bit and see how impossible that is in a small office. Uh, so 35 days, no bed, um, with a sleeping on a floor next to a toilet that is also your drinking water that you share with a ton of people. So, one thing that the Deportation Data Project doesn't have in any of their data sets is an address. And that's where we got stuck for a minute. Um, all we had was the detention facility state, and we knew that these were the names of the detention facilities. So, scrape ICE scrape all the ICE offices off the ICE website and get all of their addresses, we can find that if we take the state here, let's say where the state is Colorado. Boom. Now, these guys are nearly identical. Every single one of these facilities, except for Colorado Springs, but every single other facility corresponds to where there's an ICE office. And when the Colorado Times Recorder put out that first article exposing secret detention facilities, a representative from ICE reached out back and said, these aren't secret black sites. Most of them are in office buildings. Like, sweet, got it. And so we were able to tie together that most of these hold rooms were inside of ICE offices, and we were able to prove that a little bit further with a number of different other FOIA documents that indicated that ICE was installing hold rooms in offices. And so the first step was, and I'm going to scroll pretty far over here to getting this address, was DPP ICE office web scrape. And those ones are going to have I don't know if you are seeing the people, the faces over here, but I am making it impossible for me to click. Close, close, go away. Beekeeper is a small team. You should donate to them if you can. But so DPP ICE Office web scrape, we got most of them. And the rest of them, you'll see this knock research or research incomplete. If it says research incomplete, it's also not going to have an address. Knock research is us. There's a reference, knock hold room research, and a research ID here. So if we want to know how we know about this facility, for example, and what the address is for it, we can copy that research ID and come over to the hold room research table. Research ID equals this one. And what's the facility code? Yep, this is the right one. We're out looking at the right thing. It's El Paso County Jail. This is the address. How do we know that? Because we found the IGSA contract in the ICE FOIA library. And this last field here is always going to be a browser link so that you can come into your browser and go straight to the document, except for I broke it. What did I break? Did they take it off of the FOIA website? Great. Hold on. Did I mess it up when I put it in here? This is a bad one to mess up on. It's just me working on this, guys. I swear I'm usually really good. Let's copy this. And is it the wrong document? What did I do? Okay. Oh, I think this would be IGSA. No. All right. Well, let's find it. We're going to, I already know what we're going to look for. So if we go back to our training document, FOIA libraries here. This is where we're doing the rest of our research from to tie things together. We're going to go to the ICE FOIA library. And I'm just going to search for El Paso. It's El Paso County Jail. And I'm going to look to see if they have anything here for them. Nope. ICE El Paso hold room. What's this? No, it's El Paso, Texas, hold room. But this is how you might find one. For example, here's our address for the El Paso, Texas hold room. But I need the IGSA contract for El Paso County Jail. Hmm. Conroe, Texas. I have to get out of here. I go co. There we go. Intergovernmental service agreement. So this establishes a detainer for them for El Paso County Jail. They are only supposed to be holding them for 12 hours in this facility, but this gives us our address because it's El Paso County Jail then. This is the only, surprisingly, there is nothing in the ICE FOIA library for Colorado Springs. Um, just that. There are other places we can look to, like the DHS FOIA library, which might give you more information on HSI. But HSI is a little bit more cagey than ERO is, which is your normal ICE offices. And then you've also got CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, and they have their own FOIA library as well. Some of these hold rooms are CBP sites, but they say that on there too. All right, so we've looked at some hold rooms. We've looked at some hold room research. I'll show you some different hold room research here. Someone give me a state in the chat that's not from Colorado. Minneapolis or Minnesota? Oh, New Jersey. Let's do New Jersey because my family lives there, and one of them happens to be in the town that they live in, which is fun. So actually, I will say that I don't think we had to do any research in New Jersey. I think they were all offices, but hold on, let me look real quick. So the address state is going to be New Jersey. Search. No research in New Jersey. Let's try Utah. Actually, I don't think there is any in Utah either. There might be. Nope. Um, we only had to do about 50. So I'm just gonna do it like this. So most of the research was done for Texas, for the hold rooms there because they were real cagey about the data. And then there is a North Carolina piece of research we had to do, which is the Raleigh hold room. This facility is not, this office location is not on ICE's website at all. But the way we found this one, and the way we found a bunch of them in a fun way, is we realized that we found this document that is an RFI. It's a request for information for their detainee funds disbursement program in 2019. So ICE in 2019 launched their detainee funds disbursement program, and they had to put ATMs in all of their offices, including the ones that they didn't share on their website. And so at the bottom of this request for information, that this request for information was created by ICE to send out to ATM companies. And it includes a contact point and address for every single place where they wanted to put an ATM, which is every single one of a place where they would have detainees. And so North Carolina, we could find that there's one in Cary, there's one in Hendersonville, and there was the one in, there's Wilmington. What was the one we were looking for? Raleigh. Oh, because it's the Raleigh Cary sub office. which is in Cary. So if you look here, the office name and then the city that it's in, this is why it was so confusing because the Raleigh, North Carolina sub office that isn't advertised on their website at all is in Cary. And if we go, we can Google. We did some Google Street View walking around, and we were able to find a lot of these facilities are very similar looking. They look a lot like Fred Hold, which just looks like an office building. But there is that one, Montana. In Montana, there's two. I grew up in Montana. There's one in Billings, and there's one in like it's not Great Falls. It's Helena. And they're not incredibly highly used. Let's look at the hold rooms though. So hold rooms state is going to be Montana. There's the two of them, one in Billings and one in Helena. So they haven't imprisoned people for over 7 days. That's nice. Do they have any violations? No violations at all. There was a child in Billings. Yeah, Billings had one child. Um, and only two people were held at Billings, and 25 unique people in Helena, but only for an average of 3 hours. So they're actually operating in Montana pretty by the book, which is interesting. Um, because, for example, if you look at San Diego, so SND district staging. This one's crazy. First of all, it was used over 5,000 times. Um, the use has actually gone down since Trump, which is interesting at this facility. Almost 5,000 unique people, and almost half of them are children. Yeah, of course it's in Billings. They don't do that stuff in Havre. But actually, there's probably a CBP hold room that's just unreported in Havre. Uh, Elderly over 70, over 12 hours, over 72 hours, over 72 hours post waiver. This one is really crazy though because you see these two people that were imprisoned over 30 days at this facility. Let's find them really quick and let's see how long they were detained. So SND hold. We're gonna go to the raw detention stints and we're gonna say where the detention facility code, wherever that is. Detention facility code. Am I crazy? Oh, it's all the way down here. They organized this data very weird. So the detention facility code is SND hold, and oh, we don't. They don't have the time. Dang. Okay, well, just for fun, I'm gonna do it as a query, which we haven't gotten to, but uh, I don't actually expect you guys to do this, but I do want to show you this one case because it does show how dubious this data is sometimes as well. So this data from the deportation data project, it's not complete. It's just whatever they can get from ICE through FOIA litigation. And so there's some pieces of this data that are outliers that we're a little curious about. This is one of them. Oh, I just want the book out. This is how you do date math in SQL. Take the book out date time minus the book in date time as a Julian day. And we want where it's greater than 30. So those are two people, our two stints that happened that were greater than 30 days. And they were both transferred, or eventually removed, a male and a female. Um, but what's interesting to me is this part. Um, they have fixed it. Okay, so this is updated data. This originally said 2018 621. And that's how you can tell some of these things change sometimes. And this is with a newly updated FOIA data set from ICE. But in the last data set, so if you looked at like our map that we put out with Colorado Times Recorder, that's with the last data set that we had. This person had stayed here for 6 years, but now it's only more like a few months, which isn't good, but it's better than what we thought it was. Went from a few months from like a few years. Fair enough. So some of this data is dubious, and you always want to confirm everything that you're saying. Uh, that's why we haven't reported on this 6 year stint. And it's good that we didn't, because it does look like it was a mistake or being hidden, one of the two. Anyway, let's how about we download the data set and you guys can set up coldCounter. So what you're gonna do is go to that link that I put in the chat. You will need to do this like on a PC. Excuse me. And you're going to go to our Git repo and you'll see this piece that says code. And you're just going to click download zip. And once this zip file downloads, you can just extract it to wherever. So you can extract it right to your downloads if you want, or to the C drive, but you'll hit extract all, pick where you want to put it, and then that's going to bring you right into here. And if you guys can indicate in the chat when you've caught up with me. So go to the GitHub repo, download the zip file, and extract it. And then give me like a thumbs up in the chat. And I'll move on after a few people have. Sweet. So, Jim from Maryland, you win the prize. You're the first. Cool. So once you get to this point, this installer refresh coldCounter batch file will build the entire coldCounter database for you in this spot. And but it takes about 20 minutes to do that. So I'm not gonna have you do that right now because the faster way to do it just for this class is in that document, wherever I put it, um, in the training document. There is a test DB right there. It's a Proton drive, and it has an encrypted copy of the database at its current state. And then you'll just hit download here. And what I want you to do is put this coldCounter training DB once you download it in the folder that you extracted to. So inside of your coldCounter main folder here. We're gonna drop it in here once it finishes downloading. And it should download pretty quick, faster than building it, for sure. And then while that's downloading, the other piece is in your coldCounter main file, you're gonna go to this Beekeeper portable data browser and see Beekeeper Studio Portable. Just make sure you can open this. And if you can't open it, hmm, run it anyway. Oh, okay. Well, maybe this is broken. Um, I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this. Do. So in the training document, the other piece I want you to get is go to this link where it says Beekeeper, and you're going to download Beekeeper. You do not need to put your email address in here. You could just skip it with the little button down below. And then download the version for your version. I already have it installed. You don't have to use the installer if you use the portable one. So if you download the portable one, it's just gonna open the software. But I already have it open, so I can just close that one and try that again. Sweet. So it just popped open and doesn't have anything connected to it. Uh, and so once you have your coldCounter um test database downloaded, well, training database, it's the most current up-to-date one. Once you have that downloaded from Proton Drive and you put that in your folder, so coldCounter training, we're gonna put that into our folder just like this. Once you got it in there and you have launched Beekeeper and you're at this screen, give me a thumbs up again. See you, Janine. Also, any like IPT people and various folks that are in here, I'm always happy to just do a training for y'all, or if you're for your org and whatnot, or help you with any kind of analysis you're trying to do. Trevor's got it. Kristen's got it. All right, cool. Um, so once you get to this part, you're gonna select your connection type, and it's always gonna be SQLite. It's a SQLite database. It's gonna ask you for the SQL for the file. You'll choose file, and you're gonna choose coldCounter. Is this training database current data? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's the most up-to-date data that we've got. Where did I put it? I put it in downloads, and then I put it in here, and then I put it in here, and then I put it there. So you're gonna grab your coldCounter training database, and you'll hit connect, and you got it. So yeah, I generated this database before the class just because the database is just a little bit too big to put on the GitHub repository, and it's a little hard to share it. It takes a long time to run it, to be honest with you. I do recommend running the ETL pipeline. We will get to the ETL pipeline at the end, but let me get back to our training. because I'm just losing my train of thought here. All right, so we've got Beekeeper Studios up. We've got our database up. Is anybody having any issues? Go ahead and put it in the chat if you are having any kind of problems getting to this point. But once we're at this point, you can go to the hold rooms dimension, and inside of Beekeeper, you can just hit this little gear icon down here, and you can export the whole table if you wanted to a CSV. And then in Excel or Google Sheets or your whatever tabular data system that you like to use, you can export the whole table as a CSV and run it right in there and do all of your sorting and your like VLOOKUPs and all that kind of stuff in that, if that's more comfortable for you. But you could also use our filters here inside of Beekeeper, and we could say where like the state is hold room state equals Colorado. If I just want the Colorado ones, and then I could export filtered view. So that's going to export either the whole table or the filtered view. And we could just export filtered view, and that is going to give us just the Colorado hold rooms as a CSV. And boom, you've got it. You could use that for whatever, share it, put it in a Proton sheet and send it to all of your senators, whatever you want to do with it. And the real that's basically if you just want to use the stuff that we've come up with. So like these numbers that we're calculating uh, from the data set, the current data set. However, if you want to calculate your own, once you are inside of Beekeeper, you see this little tab where it has like these little symbols and it says query number one. This is where you can write your own SQL queries. So basics of writing a SQL query. There is three main components of it for most of your SQL queries. And you're always gonna start by saying select, because you're selecting from the database. So we're going to select from where. Star is a wildcard key, so star means everything. So select everything from, oh, let's say dim hold rooms, this table right here. And we can see all of our columns in that table over here as well, which helps us write our queries. And we want the ones where and we're going to give it a name. So dim hold rooms, we don't want to have to write dim hold rooms dot to get to all of our columns like that every time. So we can give it a name by just putting something after it. So we'll call it HR, where HR dot, and we've got all of our different um, values, fields. We're going to choose hold room state equals co. Now that query is doing exactly what this filter is doing. But the cool thing about a query is you can add different things together. You can add different tables together, different dimensions and different facts. So we're going to combine this dimension, hold rooms, with the dim detention facilities dimension. So this has all detention facilities, not just hold rooms, and a couple more pieces of data. It's got percent non-criminal. It's got average days, maximum days, earliest book-in time, latest book-in time in the data set. This kind of gives you an indication of like what time range this covers. You can see that this one goes all the way back to 2022, but this one only goes all the way back to 2025. And that's kind of what I mean by this data is incomplete. So always pay attention to that. Like if you're looking at something and you're like, this can't be right, then look at it and see if maybe it's just not in this data set at all. Maybe it was indicated at one time in like 2025 and then it was never referenced again. That doesn't mean it wasn't used. That just means we don't have that data. Um, this is the percent of people there that got a final order given for deportation, the average daily population, the max daily population, and that's the last field there. But we're gonna bring in max daily population and average daily population into our hold rooms table for Colorado hold rooms. So we're selecting everything from hold rooms, but we're going to join our detention facilities dimension. We'll call that D on. So we have to say what connects these two things together. The thing that connects these two things together is the detention facility code. So the detention facility code is always going to be one to one with the detention facilities table. So we're joining detention facilities on hold room dot detention facility code equals D dot detention facility code. Needs an app to open. Too big for the system. Yeah, it's gonna need a it's gonna need a an app to open, and that's gonna be this one. It's gonna be a Beekeeper. So in the let me grab the link and throw it in the chat for Beekeeper. Um come on. I swear, these things they just go on whatever monitor they want. Okay. Go here. You don't have to put in your email address. There's a little button underneath of it that says skip to download. And I would get the portable one. You just download it and run it. But the database itself, you're not going to be able to open it until you run Beekeeper one time because we're actually accessing it with Beekeeper. For sure, Manette. We will have a recording. But yeah, so we're going to join these two together on the facility code. Let me know, Stephen, if you have any more problems with that. But yeah. Um and what we want is let's say we just want to know the facility because we kind of know our Colorado hold rooms already. And then let's see if there's any of them that so we said so now we're selecting HR facility code because that's coming from the HR table. I'm pointing at my screen. You can't see me, huh? And we're also going to grab from the detention facilities table average daily population and the maximum daily population. And cool. So 135 people were kept in den hold at one time in one day. Um, that would have to be, all right, chat, what's 135 times 7? We're gonna grab a calculator. 135 times 7. So yeah, 1,000 roughly. They would need a 1,000 foot by 1,000 foot square room to be within the national detention standards on that day. And we're like, wow, there was an average daily population of 135. That's coming from one of our raw tables, which is facility population. This table gives you daily facility population per hold or per facility. And so we're gonna just make another query real quick. And let's find the day where where the daily population of Denhold was 135. So we'll come into another query and we are selecting from where. We'll use our wildcard to start off with from raw facility population where we got to give it a name. Call it R, where R dot detention facility code equals Denhold. So that's going to give us all the population days for Denhold, but we don't want all the population days for Denhold. We just want the one where the number of detained people is 135, because that's a lot. So we're going to say, and R dot number of detained people is equal to 135. That's going to give us our day. If I can type right, that's going to give us our day where they had the most people. That's crazy. 134 dudes and one girl. Wild. And that was 10/30/2023 at the Denver Hold Room. So on March 30th of 2023, they had 135 people in there. Why? It's a great, place to tip you off for something to look into further here. In any case, any questions so far on how this works or how these queries work or anything like that? You could also save these queries. So if I just want to keep this on deck, so I always know the longest day at Denhold, save Denhold big population. I'll remember that. Now, this tab over here on Beekeeper, we've got our database. That's this symbol. And this symbol under it, just like these tabs here, is our queries. So now this is saved in here. And if I close this and open it again, I'll still have this query. Okay, we did querying the data, navigating the data. Um, how often is the database updated? Do we have to download it again periodically? So, the deportation data project updates kind of randomly. So as far as their updates go, I would recommend just either refreshing the data every once in a while by running um the batch file that's in here. So if you run this, it's going to actually create the coldCounter database or refresh it, and it'll pull all the data over again from the deportation data project. And was the ATM document for hidden offices on the doc? No, it's not. It's here. Let me grab the link for that really quick. Yeah, that document is crucial. It's very good. This would also be a good document for kind of like trying to figure out where they might be making new hold rooms. It's at least accurate the from 2029. And this is uh ICE's Amazon warehouse that that's hosted on. Uh let's see. Da. What can we do now? We've done a lot of things. Where are we at though on this? Querying the data and navigating the data. Let's look at some more of the tables that are just available. I know most people came for hold room stuff, and I think that's the most important thing right now anyway. But there's a lot of other pieces of this data. So you got your hold rooms, hold room research, this hold room office crosswalk. This is just this is something we created to crosswalk between ICE offices and the hold rooms that were in the same city. If we can't get the batch file to work, can we watch somewhere for a pre-created database every so often? Um, you mentioned that, and I'm gonna test. I'm gonna test the batch file on my PC real quick. Also, so you guys can just like see what that is. We're gonna allow it to run. Okay, and then it should just run it. Cool. It should actually prompt you to install Python and install it for you if you don't have it, plus all the requirements it didn't. Ugh, gosh. All right. Well, I'll fix that. But yeah, so it's gonna do this for like 20 minutes now. But you could check out my oh shoot. Isn't the text art cool though, guys? Spent a lot of time on that. So that's how you refresh it. That's going to create a database here called coldCounter. And as that's growing, we'll continue to use the coldCounter training database, but it'll make a production one there when you click the batch file. Yeah, you might need to install Python first, according to chat, um, for it to work. Is there a way to see all of this data on a Mac? No, you absolutely are not limited to that. If you go to the Beekeeper Studio, um and again, skip Mac OS right there. It's available on everything. There are also there's other SQLite browsers that you can use. And there are mobile SQLite browsers that work on like an iPad too. I haven't really tried them, but anything that you can browse a SQLite database with works. Absolutely. Uh, cool. So jumping back into the database though, do want to show you. Cool. So, detention facilities. This is going to be all of your detention facilities. So, that is also going to include, we're going to say detention facility state. I don't know if this has been updated. This might have been updated actually. It did for a while include, okay. Um, so there was there was data in here actually for uh prior interesting. So thank you for the story. Training's helpful. Need to play around with it. Yeah, for sure. I'm from Utah. Earlier said there's no data on Utah. No, there is. There's plenty of data on Utah hold rooms. I'm so sorry. I meant on the research side. I was just going. So the reason that there's not any research on date, these are the ones I need to tie still, by the way. And the reason that there's no research on them is because they're all in ICE offices. We already know where they are because we got them all from the DPP ICE Office web scrape. Yep. So absolutely there is, and let's look at Utah real quick. So your Salt Lake City hold room is pretty active. Uh, it's really ramped up in usages since 2025. Um, it is primarily unique people, 26 kids, two people over the age of 70. These are worth looking into to see if you can determine if they are nonviolent offenders. In fact, we have one way that we are doing that right now that we're going to be implementing in the people dimension, and that is that we bring in the NCIC offense codes here. And if we go to the stays, so I would have to and this is kind of how this research works. To find that person out, this is what you would do. Oh, I clicked too many tabs. There we go. Um, oh, see you, Danielle. So if this is what you would do is you want to find the stints that are people who are over the age of 70. And then once you find the stints for that facility where the people are over the age of 70, in the you're going to grab their unique identifier And then once you have their unique identifier from the stints table, we're going to grab a random person here to do it. Unique identifier. Where are you? Unique identifier. So we're going to grab this person's unique identifier and we're going to see if they're a nonviolent detainee. We're going to go into the stint ID or the stays table, I mean, and we are going to look for the unique identifier that looks like this. So we've got them. They've had 3 stints. They were removed, but what we're looking for is most serious conviction code. So this is their most serious crime that they have been convicted with. Most of these will be null. This person was actually convicted of a crime. Let's see if this is a violent crime. So we're going to take this conviction code, go to the offense code table, look for it. Oh, sexual assault, violent, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So that person who, well, this wasn't one of the people who was over the age of 70. I just grabbed a random person. But if it was one of the people that we were looking for, we would say, okay, then that follows the rules, I guess. Um, and what we're looking for is violations of the rules. And you'll find plenty of them. But yeah, that is how you track down kind of the story of an individual. Yeah. Yeah. Um, there are we say an example from Ogden? Absolutely. Let's look at Ogden real quick. Let's look at the hold rooms. Oh, I need to close some of these tabs. This is why this will really drive down your analytics. All right, Ogden. So the Ogden Hold'em has been used 351 times. Ramped up after Trump, 335 out of 351 unique people, one child. That's interesting. One child. Um, 2 violations of over 12 hours prior to the waiver, 1 violation of over 72 hours. Average hours imprisoned is 5. One person was imprisoned over 7 days. One person was imprisoned over 30 days. So they only had 1 violation out of 335 that was over 72 hours, and that one was over 30 days. That's very interesting. How can we find more about that 38-day stay? Let's find out. Cool. So we're going to write a query to do that. We're going to come back to this query here. I'm just going to delete it. And we're going to say select from where. We are selecting, I always just start off with the everything button. From, oh, it's going to be the stints. So raw detention stints. What do we do with the information when we find a violation? Record it, use it as propaganda to take them down. Find the person, um, write everything down they'll be needed for the trials. Uh, it's kind of up to you at that point with what you do with the information. So one good thing that you could do with the information when you find it, send it to the ACLU, absolutely. Send it to the ACLU, send it to the Detention Watch Network, like put together a report. Maybe you could put together a report for your state, except for Rusty and Duke. I know you, but put together a report for your state that shows all of the violations at all of the different facilities. It's also going to really help with what's next steps on this, what our plans for next steps are, and what our plans on a national level are next steps for taking these down. And that is that a lot of these are not zoned correctly, especially the office building ones. They are not. We're finding, at least in Colorado, that they are not complicit. They're not compliant with zoning or conditional use permits for that parcel of land. And so our coalition has gone to the city of Alamosa in the San Luis Valley, and they showed them. You said, "Look, this facility kept this many people. They kept this person for this long. They tracked a story of a mother and a child and brought a person in to testify about the conditions inside of that hold room. And all of that was done from this research. And they the city of Alamosa came to an agreement that ICE has been in violation of local zoning ordinances since 2005. And what's interesting about that is they said that ICE is in violation of it, but ICE is not in violation of it. The landowner is. It's a privately owned piece of land, and so we're not done there. The chief of police went and delivered a notice to ICE saying that they're operating illegally, but they haven't evicted them. And there are escalations that can come from that, especially in a legal sense. Suing the city is an option when they won't enforce their own laws, even though they agree that a crime was committed. But these are things you could do with the data. So what were we looking at? We're looking at the stints. Does coldCounter include the hidden offices? It does. And that's what that research hold room research table is. This is the hidden ones is going to be all of these guys and why we know where we got it from and the source. And if any of these links are broken, let me know. I saw that that one link was broken earlier. And yeah, a lot of these come from that RFI document, that ICE RFI. This is all of the ones that were in there that aren't on their website. But we were looking at Ogden and that one person that was there for over 30 days. So we're gonna pull from detention stints, and we want the detention stints where the in date or the out yeah, the out date minus the in date. So book out time. We always put this Julian
What?
day here. Hello, sorry. Minus the
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that I had
You are
my mic
totally
on.
fine.
I was yelling at my cat.
Story of my life. So book out date time minus the book in date time. We want that one where it was over 30. And we're just pulling everything from it. We ran the oh this is actually giving us every one of them because I forgot to say where it was in the Ogden hold room. Oh, hold on. That's gonna be too much data for us to sort through. How to download the database? You got the test database? Okay, cool. You're gonna go to this. Just gonna like reply to my own comment real quick. Oh, no, that doesn't work in Zoom. All right, hold on. Stand by. You got the test database. Cool. This is that's the Beekeeper Studio there is the standby. What am I trying to say? Is the browser. And then for where will this be posted afterwards? Um, I think I'm gonna make a YouTube for no concentration camps in Colorado. I think there's a need for that at this point because we have some other long videos like this. Um, I'm gonna leave. Ellis will help me with that, I think. Maybe it's a no concentration camps US YouTube, something. We'll get it out there for you though, I promise. And it's all recording right now. Okay, cool. And you got it? Great. Gene, awesome. And this is over 30 and the state that it was in, or we know actually the hold room code. So detention facility code equals it was scroll back. Ogu hold. Why is there a U? I guess Ogden, Utah. Sure. Um, where it's Ogu hold That's going to give us our single, yep, our single stint. It was a man of Hispanic origin from Venezuela. So in the raw data, we've got things like their ethnicity, their birth country, their citizenship country, the country they were deported to. So they were deported to mhm. I swear it's in here. This is why we need to get that people sa table up together. If anybody wants to help me consolidate individualized information and like demographic information about a person. So they are a convicted criminal born in 1984. Their most serious crime was assault. They're not an aggravated felon. Um, they were at Ogden from looks like around the beginning of November, or sorry, middle of November to like the middle of to like the end of December of 2023 is when they were kept there that long. What's interesting about your Utah hold rooms is you notice this is in 2023. The Utah hold rooms, um, they really picked up after Trump, but they were used quite a bit before 2025. And there's a few of them. I thought it was a Utah hold room. It's not Utah, I guess. But there's a couple of hold rooms that you'll see that the they've really increased in use since 2025. Maybe that's a good query to write of like what's the one that increased the most since Trump became president, and what's the one that increased the least since Trump has been president, or any that decreased since Trump has been president. It gives an interesting idea. Like once we can identify why they're doing that, then it gives us a sense of ICE's strategy. It allows us to plan things a lot better. And frankly, like not to toot our own horn, but Knock has been all right at that. We've been doing pretty good. There's no concentration camps in Colorado. Like, well, there's Aurora, but they haven't opened any new ones yet. So that's your one violation there. That was hold rooms, detention facilities, ICE offices. ICE offices, this is just going to give you ICE offices and whether or not they're a field office or a sub office. This dimension is largely in here for us to attach them to hold rooms. Fact stints. So this is something that we've created. The way a star schema works. So for dimensional analytics, yep, see ya, Anna. For a star schema, you have facts and dimensions, and you build your dimensions off of your facts. So we have a stint and a stay and a unique identifier, when it was in, when it was out, where it was, and the state. So this is our just the facts pretty much of a stint, just the basic information to tabulate things and the detention release reason, the bond posted amount, and the date. We got our raw data. So we have raw arrest data. You can find when people were arrested by their unique identifier. And the detainers, this is anytime there was a law enforcement interaction regarding an individual. That's what detainer is. So when they like pick somebody up from a prison, or like so if there's somebody who is convicted of a crime and they are jailed criminally, and then it's found that they get a removal order or something like that. That's what this is meant for. You'll find that it's being used quite a bit, um, especially in places where you wouldn't expect it. Like in Colorado, it's illegal to have IGSA. So you can see when ICE and the police are working together. Exactly. That at least ICE in the jails. Um, it's a good place to look at that. Now there's a whole webinar about this table, this detainers table on deportationdata.org. I do recommend it. I'm still digging into this table to figure out how we're going to integrate that with our dimensions. Um, but all that raw data is here for you to mess with, and research. And if you want to make new tables and stuff like that, I super happy to work with you on that. Super happy to help you figure out anything that you're trying to figure out for your state. And then we got our stays and our stints. So that's our like by the individual, by the facility, and then facility population by day. So facility population by day gives you the number of people that were detained, the number of people detained at midnight, which I'm not super clear on, so I ignore. The number of people who are detained that are male, the number of detained that are female. This is a change that's new to the Trump administration is doing this whole thing about gender, and they changed a bunch of stuff in here, but that's whatever. It's not super relevant to the data, unfortunately. Excellent information. Rewatching the video. Gotta run. Later, Gene. Number of detained that were convicted criminals. Number of it detained that are possibly under 18. And then we got our three reference tables. Hold room to office ID, are offense codes. So these are getting pulled from a CO contractor website and the hold room research table. And that is the whole shebang. That is coldCounter. The last piece of this is the ETL pipeline, which is a little bit more complex, but if you're savvy with Python, you can go down to code here, and under code, you'll see build coldCounter. This Python file is the source code for how our pipeline works. And you can use any Python developer that you prefer. I like Visual Studio Code. Um, if there are more, for example, data sets that get added, we just add another piece into here. This is where the data is pulling from. So that's the Excel link, pulls it in, tells it what table it's going to. So if, for example, we had another Excel document, we would, come in here, give the URL of whatever it is in here, I don't know, myspace.com. And then the table is going to be um, raw regrets. And so now when I would run this, when I run the batch file again, it would add an additional table and it would try to pull this URL. It would fail and it would fail to create the raw regrets table. But if this was an actual download link to any Excel document, really, it would create that table for you in there. Um, These are how I'm encoding the names. So like the office IDs and hold room IDs and stuff like that. Those are being done through hashing. Um, but if you want to add more to this, you are absolutely welcome to. And if you write a really good query, so for example, the hold room dimension is just a query run on the raw data after we get coldCounter loaded. So as the script is running, it will run this query after it gets the offices set up, and boom, this is what is the coldCounter dimension table for ICE offices, or no, sorry, for hold rooms. And so if you write a query that's good, like a hold room, like the hold room one, like this, or if you create a query that you're like, this should be a table, you can add that into the ETL pipeline, or ask me to, and it uses pandas. Should start wrapping up. Thank you, Ellis. Yeah, I'm just vamping at this point. Does anybody have any questions for me, I guess? And we should probably talk about the next steps as far as like we're concerned at Knock. Any questions from anybody? No? Good. Our next step is so go out, learn your hold room, And find your local one. Honestly, you could just go to this dim hold rooms, sort it by your state from mass detention centers. This one does. So if you go to detention facilities, it's going to include your detention centers. So like for example, the Denver Contract Detention Facility is the big one in Colorado. So total unique people in the data set 7,760. Um, this is going to give you like the percent that have a final order. There's no children at our facility. Um, it's going to give you the average daily population of that facility and the max daily population. That doesn't make sense. Am I looking at the wrong one? I'm looking at the wrong one. That's why. Okay. Average daily population at that facility is about 1,000. Daily population maximum 1,462. And yeah. So this one's actually in here twice, which is interesting, but it's all the same code. Which means that they named it two different times in the data set. It's got your average days, maximum days, earliest book-in time, latest book-in time in the data set, um, etc. But yeah, so if you wanted to, for example, I want to see every place in Utah where it shows up in the detention data. Boom. This is more than just the hold rooms, because you've also got some county jails and when they've been used. Um, and I just want to see that, you can go right here and export you want to actually export the filtered view. So that's all of Utah. It's going to throw it into my downloads folder. And I will throw that. Boom. There you go. There is all of the detention facilities in Utah, for example. How can get a hold of request training for an organization? Yeah. Here, let me give you my email. And right now, so the other reason that I would love for people to reach out to me is after you get to know your hold room, we are trying to recruit an organizer. And by recruit, I mean we want to collaborate with your local org for every single hold room in the US. And we are working with 5051 and Indivisible right now on trying to establish a national day of action. We're looking at probably late spring, early summer, but there's 185 hold rooms in the newest data set. There's 15 that I haven't linked up yet. And we want to protest at every single hold room for a day. National Day of Action. It's bigger than No Kings. It's more protests. And it's going to be a lot to coordinate. And so we need some good, experienced on the ground organizers in each of these places, especially the larger city ones.
So
Cool.
I
I'm
think
gonna pass it back to you, Ellis.
for our purposes for the US group, what I will do is because we lost a lot of people out of the room. Um,
Yeah, I was going real slow. It's real dry stuff.
and so I'll go out with an email and ask, for US and see who's going to be interested to pursue hold rooms and try to get names together so that we can funnel people towards you and towards this effort. Um, but that's just one piece of this. There's a lot of people in here tonight that I do not actually know. So I think we're gonna to have multiple feelers go out and present that same spiel that you just gave there at the end to try to collect the people up.
For sure. We'll put out a public call too and stuff like that. We've got a number of like national connections right now, and it doesn't all have to be recruited from this training and stuff like that. We got our feelers everywhere. We're going to try to funnel people to you though, because the hold room playbook of resistance is so similar to the warehouse playbook of resistance, and you guys are winning. So, if we can use the examples of the towns that were able to prevent the warehouses, we can do the same for privately owned hold rooms. A lot of these are just private landowners. That comes from analyzing the parcel information on each of those sites. And we're going to try to do as much of that as we can before we send it out. Thank you, Tevi. But the we're still going to need people everywhere. You know what I mean? To not only disseminate the information and use it to go after these facilities, but also to add to our research because we need just the only way we ever get anything done is if everybody's talking at the same time and eventually a good idea comes through.
Okay.
You know how it is.
Well, thank you very much for presenting tonight and exposing us to the power of having all of this data in one place that everybody can pull from and, get what they need for their individual causes. So I think it's been really good in exposing us to what kinds of information is out there and what we can actually gain through this. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. Does anybody have any
Of
last minute
course.
questions for Dorian before we close out? And does anybody have any last minute questions for me before we leave? Okay, so
Oh wait, hold on. Joe's computer monitor, former DBA who's GIS. Um, can you hit me up, Joe? Can you send me a message afterwards from this? We have a GIS affinity group, Coven Cartographia, that desperately needs more people. We're building some cool GIS stuff that I could definitely use help with. I'm a GIS systems engineer presently.
okay, if that is everything, I'm going to go ahead and close us out then. Okay. Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Alice.
Appreciate it. Thank
See
you.
you guys.
Thank you, Dorian.